racism is not, we're not born racist. Racism is taught. No one is born hating another culture. No one is born believing that a certain religion is wrong. That's something that you are taught.
My guest on this episode of Three Food Memories is a spoken word artist who has lived through the kind of life that can either silence you or make you loud. And somehow she's known both. She reminds us that healing is not linear, courage is rarely graceful, and sometimes the first act of survival is simply telling the truth out loud. Havva Ramandan, welcome to Three Food Memories.
Hi, Sava. How are you?
I'm very well. Havva meets Sava, Sava Havva.
We're literally a rhyme.
we are a rhyme and we're a match. We did not plan this. We're both wearing a leopard
I
print.
know, right? All right.
Welcome. Now, what does the word Havva mean?
It's actually quite a universal word in a lot of different languages. It means like weather, sky. It's the same in Urdu. It's the same in Turkish. It's the same in most like Muslim cultures. And then Hava is actually the Turkish for Hawa, which is Eve in the Quran. So yeah,
And did your parents ever tell you why they named you Havva?
I'm named Hava because my nan is named Hava. So my older sister was named after my dad's mum, and I was named after my mum's mum.
Now, this is a tradition we have in Greek. So you're Turkish Cypriot and
Yes.
I'm Greek Cypriot. And this is a tradition that we both share, one of many that we're going to learn about during this evening's conversation. Now, considering that English was the second language spoken in your home, you have a very strong mastery of it. Where did it come from? Where did this love of the English language and the way you use it as a craft develop?
So I was born and raised in the UK. And funnily enough, my mum didn't really speak English to me when I was a kid, before I went to school. So I had to go into special needs classes to actually learn English when I first went to nursery and primary school because I didn't really speak much English, which is hilarious because now I'm a writer. um, so I have been a writer since I wrote my first poem when I was 11 years old. And writing has got me through some of the most difficult times in my life. I have books on books, which I hope nobody ever gets hold of. If anything happens to me, I hope nobody publishes these books. But I was writing diaries as a way of getting through very complicated things in my life from a very young age. So that kind of led to pouring my emotions onto paper. And from the poetry, I then was founded by a management company who then was teaching me how to make my poems into songs. And I went through a whole artist development thing with them, and they were quite tough. Like they would give me the most weird things, and they would want me to come up with an entire project about it and an entire poem or an entire song of a very, very strange concept. But it was all for so that you could walk into any room and be able to find or to be able to make a storyline from whatever, not just the mundane standard things. Like they really wanted me to excel as a writer. So they put me through a lot of development for that.
What did you learn about yourself from that development?
Um, I'm a pretty relentless person. That development was very tough. And some of the rooms that I was in, some of the talent that I was with when I was a baby, actually, and I was very insecure. I think when I was younger, my self belief really, really suffered. And it kind of taught me that I could outwork anybody in the room. That's one thing I learned about myself. I wasn't necessarily the most talented and I wasn't necessarily the best singer or the best writer in the room, but I would outwork anyone.
How did you do that? How did you outwork them?
I just never finished until it was done. It was never good enough for me until there was a certain thing that I was looking for within it. There was a certain like music and words are emotion at the end of the day. And when you write something, you share parts of your emotion with people, and you're A, making them feel seen, and B, evoking the same emotion or giving them a way of embracing their own emotions about something that they may feel too scared to do or feel like other people have made them feel like it's not okay. to do that.
Tell us about A Voice, the book you wrote. Was released a couple of years ago. It's a collection of short stories in prose and poetry, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was released in 2024 in the UK and 2025 in all the rest of the countries, USA, Canada, all of those. And you know what's so funny is all of this was a bit of an accident for me because I started TikTok very late in like end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And I was doing the singing and things like that and doing what I do as a career. And I felt really uncomfortable. I don't like doing cover songs and things like that online because I just feel like I feel like everyone's better than me, number one. And I don't like the comparison of having to do loads of runs and that's what impresses people. I having to go really high and that's what impresses people. A standard voice may not impress people on TikTok. So I started putting my poems out and the movement just started like that. It just started. It was received really well. We were in lockdown. There was nothing much that I could do. I couldn't go to mini studios and things like that. So I just created a way to alchemize the things that I was going through into poetry and just putting that online. And then I put all my poems together and I thought, you know what, I'm going to write a book. But writing the book for a person that is very neurodivergent, for a person that has like an ADHD mind, can't sit still, it took me a while because it was very hard for me to sit down and concentrate. I just amalgamated everything that I was putting together because my fans kept asking for it. And then luckily for me, a publisher had already reached out to a very good friend of mine called James. He's the Wandering Paddy online. He is also a writer. He's from Ireland. And when they signed him, they asked him if he knew me and if I would be interested in doing a book tour with them.
Do you think that the neurodivergency was a superpower in the end? Once you mastered that, did it work with you in putting those words down and those feelings?
I think every artist is a little bit, is a little bit. And I think that our talent and our gift comes from operating from a part of our mind that not everybody has or everybody has access to. And if you're lucky, because not everybody is lucky enough, but if you're lucky to be able to channel all of that into something, whether it's writing, whether it's drawing, whether it's, I don't know, anything, um, you can create mastery. So, yeah, I do think that the genius of it comes from the craziness of you know, like I will have I will wake up in the morning and I've written something and I don't remember doing it. So I do remember when all of this used to drive me insane when I was younger because I didn't know what it was for and what it was there for and how to channel it. So 100%, I totally believe that. Yeah.
Which part of A Voice cost you the most to write?
That would have to be the excerpt of my dad. I decided to There's two things that I published in that book that I'd never spoken about online. One is the story of how my dad had passed away, which is on the last page. I literally spoke like how it actually happened that night. And the other is a poem that I had published, the first poem I had published when I was in a mental institute actually at the time, and I'd written it, and I hadn't really talked about that online either. So yeah, those two things.
But it's like I would imagine those very, very deep and personal experiences, the freshness of them in the book gives another element for your readers. It gives them something, another a dimension of you, doesn't it? And it says, "Okay, right now we understand."
Yeah, because some people, they want to know why should I trust you? You're talking about grief, but why should I trust you? Like, how would you know what it feels like for me? You know, so it's kind of like if you don't share yourself in that way, then it's very hard for people to follow you or to see you as somebody that they want to be inspired by because like why you need to earn people's respect and you need to earn people's credibility.
And I think you do that. I think you are watching you deliver those poems online and those stories. I watch the way that you stop, you pause, you gather your audience, and you bring them in. You really
Mm.
are. But you've got to be a strong bugger to be able to do that. Like inside, you must have had to really get through those tough times to be able to deliver.
I will definitely say, Sava, that there are some poems that I've done that I will cry about for 2 weeks afterwards. I'll put them out And then I will feel so raw about it. And it's amazing, like that people are writing and commenting on it and things like that, but it will destroy me at the same time. There has definitely been a journey that I've had to go through in these like years of finding a way to share myself and getting over the boundary and the barrier that you have in your everyday life. People that meet me in my everyday life is not the same. They don't meet the same person as the person that's sitting there and telling these stories, and writing these poems and singing these songs. It's definitely a different character, but that's because in everyday life you are guarded and protected. You don't want to be vulnerable like that. You don't want everyone to have access to you. So there is definitely a guard that I have to drop to be able to tell these stories and let them out. But then at the same time, there are things that happen in my life that I tell in a poem that nobody would understand is actually happening in real time. But I've just found a way to be poetic about it and talk about it, which is then like medicine for me. And then it's medicine for me when people respond to it and write comments on it, and then they think that I'm healing them, but I'm not. They're healing me. It's the other way around.
Before we get into your food memories, where does food, emotion, and language converge for you?
I was raised, obviously speaking Turkish or Cypriot version of Turkish, and I was also raised in a fish and chip shop. So that kind of goes hand in hand. I think our culture is like, oh yeah, tell me your dad owned a chippy or he owned a laundrette, or do you know what I mean? Like it's quite typical of our culture to have had that. So my mum is the best cook. Don't care. Everyone can come fight me. My mum is the best cook, especially of Turkish food ever in the world. So obviously, where we was having fish and chips and things like that during the week, my mum was definitely making sure that she was cooking Turkish food in the evenings or the weekends and things like that. So I was raised speaking Turkish. And then, funnily enough, when I was only a few years ago, actually, um, my dad had already passed at this point, and I found out that my dad's mum was half Greek Cypriot, and that her mum did not speak any Turkish whatsoever. She spoke fully Greek. So then that made me go and investigate, I did my bloods and things like that. And my bloods say that I'm higher Greek, Cypriot, and South Italian than I am Turkish, which actually blew my mind. But I think with the language, it's just it's like a family thing, isn't it? And then you just raised the way that you're raised. My Turkish is not very great. I do speak it fluently, but I wish I had concentrate on it a little bit more. We have all these like we call it London Turks, and we have a really strong London accent that is coming through in that Turkish.
All right, let's get into that first fish and chip food memory. Let's get into that shop in Gillingham. Now, I'm really bad at, I'm going to call it soccer, but I think it's called football. Gillingham is very famous for their football club. Am I right?
It's Gillingham.
Gillingham. See, there you go.
Gillingham, yeah, it's Gillingham,
It's
and
correct.
they do have a football club. They're probably the ones that do one of the best in Kent. So they're known for it. Yeah, there's a very strong following of the Jills. They call it the Jills, like the football club.
So your parents had a chipper in the Jills.
Mhm. Yes, they did, yeah.
Tell me
And my
about
dad
that.
was known by everybody in the area. Like, he used to win awards and things like that, but he'd been there for 38 years before he retired. So he literally grew up there. Everybody that grew up in that area grew up with me as a kid, with my dad, with our entire family. If I go anywhere with my mum still in Gillingham or Chatham, because I still live in Chatham, everyone's like, "Oh my God, I know you." Like, my mum knows everyone.
So tell us about the fish and chip shop.
So they bought it when they first got married. So my mum married my dad when she was 18. I think my dad was 24. And they moved from Millwall down to Gillingham, and they bought a house in Chatham. And yeah, like I was raised in the fish and chip shop. Like I never went home after school. I would be upstairs. We had a flat upstairs, and I would watch every Disney film to the point where I knew all the words to everything. I would dance to Michael Jackson's videos because I wanted to be like him when I was older, because he didn't. And yeah, like that was, I think I definitely didn't, there was many years that I didn't see my dad very often, because we would go to bed obviously, and then he would be working till I don't know what time. I'd see him on Sundays. But I think when I was younger, I didn't appreciate the fact that they were working so hard and working all the hours in the world to provide for us. When you're younger, you're just like, oh, why don't I get to spend time with them? But when I got older, I realized how we were always the first thought. They just was working to be able to provide everything that they felt that we needed.
And you spoke also about your mum. Sure, she made food for your mum and dad. They made food for the shop, but you also spoke about she cooked Turkish food, and that was something that happened at the back. What are some of the dishes that she cooked in the shop?
That is one of my second food memories, which is bamya, which is one of my favorites. Absolute favorite. I think the English word for bamya is okra. So she would make kolakaf, she would make bamya, she would make molahia, she would make fırın magarına. Like there was nothing that
Further
I
magurna is tell us what that
is
is.
it's like it's the translation of it is oven macaroni, but it's like
Yes.
macaroni. Yeah, did you have that? Yeah. Yeah, so it's like macaroni cheese,
With a
but it's
big
not the same as
thick,
macaroni cheese.
you
Yeah,
know.
really thick, long noodle kind of macaroni. And the cheese is not all the way through, it's
No.
just at the top, which is why I would always just pick the top. My mum would hit me. Like I would always pick the top cheese layers and I'd leave all the pasta.
Now, there's something interesting about, as a parent myself, I remember someone said to me, "Oh, you only get 18 summers with your children before you lose them and they go away." I mean, we never got 18 summers with with our parents because everyone was always working, and then later they bought a farm and there were things like that. Do you regret not having the summers that the other kids had with their parents?
There was a lot of things that you probably relate to this. There was a lot of things that I did not have as a kid because of the fish and chip shop that made me resent it because I wanted time with my family and I didn't get that. Every summer, I was sent to Cyprus and I would be in Cyprus for 6 weeks until just before school would start. And I would come back and I would go to school. In hindsight, I think at the time, I definitely felt like, why couldn't I do everything that everybody else was doing? Or why wouldn't my parents take me to the cinema? Or why couldn't my parents take me swimming? Or all these things that you see all these parents doing, all these activities that they're going to with their children. I didn't get any of that because they were never free to do that. So the best time for me was actually the summer because I could go and be with all my cousins and their mums and dads would take me out and, do all these activities and things like that. So it's a two-sided thing. I think I was lucky because I would get to go abroad every summer to a country where I've got so much family and they would always love seeing me. And I would do so many things in this country and it was boiling hot and it was beautiful. But at the same time, it's like I never got the child and parent time with my family because they was always working.
If you had a time machine that went backwards to the shop, I mean, what would you give to go back to those
I'd
years
give
and
it
that?
anything,
Yeah.
anything, anything. I'd give anything to do so many different things and so differently and but that's just one of the things that we all wish, isn't it? There's the one currency that we are low on all the time is time, and we want to turn it back, and it's the one thing that we can't do.
Did your parents ever communicate their regret or that the fact that the shop just took over or was? Let's not even say, because let's be real here. These shops were lifelines. They fed us. They educated us. They gave us foundations to be the people who we are today. Did they ever communicate we wished we did things differently, or was there any reflection back, or was that a luxury to be able to reflect back?
My dad definitely did. My dad definitely did. In the few years, my dad was a very stern man when we was growing up. He was not the same person when he was older, and he definitely expressed how much he'd regretted how much he'd had to work. It wasn't the fact that he was saying, "I wish I didn't have a shop." It was the fact that he felt that he didn't have a choice but to have a shop. And him and my mum did not have a choice but to do that. So I think they would have done things differently if they felt that they had the option to.
After losing your father, your grief turned your voice inwards. You shut down. What did silence begin to sound like on the inside?
I think for a long period of time, it was just silence. It was silence that hurt my ears and my brain because I have a continuous narrative inside my mind, and it for the first time in my life was just it was like one long continuous scream. You ever heard of a banshee? It's like one long continuous scream, just like that. I think for the first year, that's how it felt. It was just one long continuous scream. I couldn't write, I couldn't sing, I couldn't create, I couldn't do anything. I didn't actually think that I would be able to return to being creative. I just felt like I was locked down. You know, when you're going through sleep paralysis kind of thing? It was like that. I just nothing could move. My brain wasn't functioning. I was in shock for a very, very long time because he died suddenly and he died in front of us. And I think my mind shut down in that moment, and I don't think it let me go. It didn't let me go out of that for a good couple of years.
Did you surrender to that? Or there was just, you just didn't have the strength to fight it?
You don't know that it's going on. Like, I can say that now, 8 years later, because I've got hindsight now, and I can understand what it was that I was feeling at the time and what was going on. The way that I felt at the time, I didn't understand anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. I have a lot of loss of memory. The one thing that a seismic trauma like that will do to you is make you lose your memory. I have huge gaps of the next couple of years of that period of time.
Do you think that's Mother Nature's way of protecting you so you don't carry that forward?
Yeah, I think that's the human body. I think we're designed like that. If you go through something as traumatic as that, your mind will protect you by putting you into shock. It let me feel things periodically. Periodically, it would let me feel that my dad had gone. Periodically, it would let me remember something. It's frustrating, but at the same time, it was self protection, it was self preservation. Because I don't think a human body, mind or heart, which is why they say some people die of heartbreak after they lose somebody that they've been with for so many years. I think if your body doesn't have that protection, you could pass very quickly afterwards if you felt something as major as that all in one go. I don't think the human body, mind or heart can handle that.
How was your spirit after Dad died?
I don't think I had any access to it, if I'm honest. I think I went into survival mode because I was looking after my two sisters and my mum. I was the protector. I became the pillar and the glue of everything. And after about 6, 7 months, they didn't need me anymore. And that's when everything around me crumbled. I completely fell apart. So everybody thinks that grief is linear, like this, you're just going up, but it's not. It's like this. And then I think 4 years later was my worst point, which is really strange. Every time I thought I was doing better, something else would happen. I had something that happened, which was it caused me PTSD, and it was debilitating.
Do you feel grateful for these experiences, no matter how hard they were? Because from this really bad place, you're creating such beautiful, heartfelt human work.
It's so hard to answer that question because I would give it all back. Every single thing, the book, everything, the social media, take it all away. If I could have him back, obviously.
Would he
I'm
want that
glad.
for you? Would he
Um,
want that for you?
I don't know. I don't know. I will ask him one day when I meet him again. I will ask him one day. Sometimes I think to myself, I have to do the things that I do because I want to go to heaven because I know he did. He did because he was a great man. So I need to live my life in such a way that I need to make sure that I get there so that I can ask him these questions because I didn't get to ask him them when he was here.
What is the driver behind your grief being so open and in real time? Is it that one-way ticket to heaven?
There was a period of time in the first year where I lost literally all the friends that I knew at that time. And it was because my grief, I don't know about everybody else, my grief was just so volatile. I was so angry with the world and I just couldn't contain it. And a lot of people just walked away from me. They didn't want they were used to the party girl. I was a party girl before my dad passed away. So they wanted that. They were like, okay, we'll come back around when you're feeling better. So whilst you're doing this, we're just gonna kind of leave because it makes us feel uncomfortable. But we'll be back. And the loss that you had, you grieve the person and then you grieve your life that you knew before it happened. And then you start grieving your friends and your family. Family too. Family really let me down, let my family down in the years that followed. And I didn't want anybody to ever feel as lonely as I felt when I was going through those couple of years. And I tried to find things on social media that would help me. I tried to look for things, and all I found was people that were talking about it after the fact. So they're just telling you fairy tale stories of you will find yourself again one day. And it's just like, dancing poetic, but it's like I'm healed now or I'm on the other side of it. Nothing was ugly. Nothing was as torturous as it really was. Nothing was as real as I needed it to be. Everything that I found made me feel like I'm not doing it. This is just unique to me. There's something wrong with me. Why aren't I healing? And I decided to talk about it. I just decided to talk about it. And when I did, I found that other people felt the same as me, but they just too scared to speak about it because the same way as me, everybody else had left them too. So I created this safe space for me and all the people that were going through it the same way that I was.
Your second food memory, and this is when as soon as I read this and I was like, bumya, yes.
Go for it.
I want it right now. In fact, I have some in my fridge that I made the other day because I was
No way.
inspired by this. Yeah, I made it with tomato. Probably put a bit
Mhm.
too much garlic in it this time, but there's loads of onion in it, and it's like it's a fart machine in a Tupperware in my fridge. But I love it. But this is not my memory. This is yours, Hava. Tell me
Mhm.
about your bumyas.
So it's just like, when you have this smell that engulfs your house,
You don't have
that,
to. Yes.
and it's just like,
It's the food we're talking about, not the farts.
no, no, definitely not the farts. Um, there is certain smells that will engulf my house, even to this day, that I'm like, I'm home. You know what I mean? Is I'm home. It gives me that feeling of home. My mum is here. Everything's fine because I can smell that she's cooking and I know that it's something that I'm going to love because I've loved it since I was a child.
I could see your
And it
mum
just,
preparing the bumyas on her, with the knife on her fingers, just like,
yeah,
there it is.
literally, literally. There is no health and safety with that generation whatsoever. It gives me a sense of home. Like there is I travel all over the world for work, sometimes 7, 8 months at a time. My last contract was 8.5 months. And there is no feeling, that you're missing home. Is something that's missing from within you. It's smells, it's tastes, it's heat. It's just a feeling and a sense and a smell. Like even the way that the food smells, the person smells, your sheets smell, your house smells. There is a sense of home that is missing from you. And if I am in this house, because I still live with my mum, by the way, I moved back home after my dad passed away to look after her and be with her. So there is a feeling that I get, especially if I'm asleep and I wake up and I can smell bamya. I'm 6 years old. I'm 6 years old. I'm protected. Everything's fine. Life is great.
No
And
deadlines.
no deadlines. There's nothing. I'm not an adult. I'm good.
How does she make them?
So she fries the bamya. She chops the heads off, fries the
On a
bamya.
thumb.
Yeah, on her thumb, completely. Um, Them women are savage. Like people don't understand it. Them women are savage.
Have you
I used
seen
to
the
watch.
way mothers cut onions? Like I sometimes roll over in
Yeah,
my grave, and there's like these women on these Turkish mothers on TikTok that are cutting onions. Like no, no, but I grew up with that, so I don't know why I'm panicking now.
my nan used to, and like I'm talking that like she's 84 now. At 60 years old, she used to get 2 potato sacks, swing them, and put them on her shoulders and walk to the village. Like from the next town. Like honestly, they're made different. They're made different. They're savage. So she'll cut the heads and then she'll fry it and then she'll make the same sauce that you said, like the tomatoey sauce with the onions, the garlic, paprika, cumin, whatever. And then make a stew. She puts chicken in hers. Some people put red meat in theirs,
Yeah,
but she doesn't like that. And I don't particularly
too
like it like that.
strong.
I only like it with chicken, yeah.
Yeah.
Molahia, on the other hand, I don't like with chicken. I like it with lamb. But with bamya, definitely chicken
Now
instead of red meat.
explain malahia with me. Is that like kind of a spinachy, ricey thing?
Yes, yes, the
Yes. Yeah.
spinachy. It's a
Yeah.
spinachy one.
Yeah.
And it's like leaves. So my mum brings like bags of it home from Cyprus because obviously the you can't bring any food home doesn't apply to her. So she
Or
just
me.
brings like hellim. She brings molehia. The suitcase is full of things, honestly. And like even lemons. I'm like, why you've got lemons in this country? She's like, they're not the same. It's all right, mum. All right, cool. So yeah, molehia is a plant that's grown, and then you take the leaves off, you dry them out, and then it becomes really, really like hard, and then you put that into a stew. So every third Turkish dish is based off of a tomatoey type stew. There isn't really spice. I don't know if that's the same for you. We don't really have spice in our food at all.
No, no, not at all. It's interesting though, as you use the word okra, it doesn't have the same gravitas as bamya. Like I can't when I see it written down as okra, it's foreign to me. It's not even part of my fiber. But when you say it bamya, and in a minute we're going to get to it from the other side of the division, that we're saying the same thing and we have the same reaction. It just gives way to anything political, which actually brings me to what connects you and I. We're from the same island. We are both Cypriots. You are Turkish Cypriot. You were born in the UK. I'm Greek Cypriot. I was born in Australia. Now we know of the war that happened in Cyprus in 1974. I was told my version of it. I've never heard the Turkish Cypriot version of that war. What were you told about this particular conflict?
So my mum was there. She was in Cyprus at the time. She was a very young kid. And she only told me this story a few years ago. She didn't tell me when I was younger, but she said that they were held at gunpoint. They were the whole village, which is Ergazi, which is where my mum's mum has had the same house since she was a child, so 80 plus years now. Um, they were all removed from the village. And bear in mind, this was a mixed village. It wasn't just Turkish people there. There was Greek people there that too, but everybody was taken from the village. They were all taken round the corner to it's like a rural area. It's like there's like a lake. It's just like a massive piece of land. They were all taken there. They were held at gunpoint and they were given no food or water. They were basically gonna kill them. They were held for 2 days. And I said to her, "What happened? Like, how did you feel?" She said, "I was terrified. Obviously, I was a little girl. Her dad was there at the time because she lost her dad really young too. Um, and her mum and her two sisters and her brother." And the Turkish soldiers saved them. Apparently, they came in and they kind of took over the day. But I think that had something to do with the UN as well, calling for ceasefire at that time as well.
Did your mum ever talk about what the conflict was about?
You know what's interesting? They didn't even know. The people in Cyprus didn't even understand what was going on because they'd lived happily as Turks and Greeks for I don't know how many centuries. Do you know what I mean? At first, it was the British. Let's just put that out there. It wasn't even Greece or Turkey. It was the British that came in and decided that they wanted military bases there, and then that caused I think it was the Greeks first, and then the Turks backfired. So that caused the argument about 100 years later between the Greeks and Turks to who wanted the land. The UN got involved and wanted to keep peace in between them, but couldn't stop both invading. And then I think it was stopped by the UN. I don't think the people in Cyprus at that time really knew anything. Did they even have TVs? Did they even know what the news was, what was going on? Did anybody talk about political things then? At that time, they weren't even registering birth certificates. But people didn't even know how old what they were. Like, my dad's birth certificate was registered in the wrong year. My nan wrote the wrong year. Like, he lived his whole life like with the wrong year on his birth certificate. So I don't think they had any clue what was going on. I think they were just. I think there was always probably a knowledge between them that there were different cultures and two very strong different religions. Did they know why they was being invaded? Probably not. Probably just assumed it was a land thing, but I don't think they had a lot of knowledge about it. No.
To give some fact and around the countries, Nicosia is the last divided capital city in the world. There is a border that runs through it, and up until about 2004, you couldn't cross the border. So you must have been a young girl then, um, when you couldn't access freely. There are I think I don't know dozens of checkpoints now, that run across the island. What did you think existed on our side?
Well, because I had a British passport, I was allowed to fly to either side. With a British passport, you can do whatever. I think I first experienced, I want to say Ayia Napa when I was a teenager. Um, And we crossed via Nicosia. That's right, we did. We crossed via Nicosia because all the borders that exist now that you can cross via, they're close to me now. But I remember this was really, really far because we've got property in Famagusta and there's two checkpoints in Famagusta now. But this, when to go over before, it was like an hour's drive. So yeah, you're right. It would have been crossing Nicosia. But because I had a British passport, nobody, obviously, they look at my name and they're a bit like, yeah, Dodge. But um, we still, I kind of had the freedom. I didn't really, I knew that because the Greek side was part of the EU, I knew that it was a bit more built up and it was a bit more beautiful and it was a bit more known, But I went to party. Like I said, I was a party girl, so I went to party in Ayia Napa, which I absolutely loved. I went a few times to
So you
there.
never subscribed to any of the politics or the news around that sort of stuff? That wasn't part of your Cypriotness?
I think my dad wanted me to. My dad definitely wanted me to be part of it, but I've always been very rebellious when it comes to culture division, when it comes to religion. Religion, I took a very strong standpoint from when I was a little girl, and I've always been the same. My dad always used to call me a little rebel. I never wanted to follow anything that anybody said. I'm not going to be a sheep and believe something about people or cultures or individuals based on propaganda or what someone else felt or what has been written in books for years and has been passed down and down and down. I am a 100%, I will experience you for myself and see how it makes me feel. And I will like it or not like it. And it won't be based on history. It will just be based on my experience. And that's it.
I came across you on the socials, and it was the video that went to your grandmother's village, and you opened the gate. Once you got to the gate, I collapsed and I had to go to the beginning again. I
Oh,
couldn't watch you open the gate at all. It was really, really, really painful, because why was it painful? Let's be really clear, because it was taking me back to a moment of happiness and memory. That was not that house, but that was the color of my grandmother's gate in her village. And as
oh,
you opened up onto the courtyard, it was my grandmother's courtyard. Small, it was much larger. Um, and I could see the vine growing up. This was her castle. She had
yeah,
nothing and she built it on her own. And
yeah,
there it was on the other side of the divide, right, where I was brought up to believe that the Turks were dangerous, that the Turks were awful, and XYZ. And there was your story, like butted up to mine. And then when you opened the aluminium door, that was the same aluminium door that my grandmother had. And
wow.
when I walked in, and then I saw what was a little sofa that my grandmother would call the divanui, which
Mm,
your grandmother, it was just my story all over. And then I thought, how can this be? How can one culture come to this point of division? Who got involved? What is it
yeah,
about? And then I realized very quickly that the human condition and the human spirit is much stronger than anything. And all we
100%.
have to do is just look for it, and there it is. So watching you hop into that, just it was, yeah, it was going back to my grandmother and going back to those stories, going back to a part of a world, that I kept on going back to up until recently, looking for answers. Here we
Mm,
are. I don't know how it is for you in um in the UK, but we're so far removed from who we are. Sure, this is our country and Australia is where I live, but this is not where my answers are. This is not
mm,
this is not where I find, you know, the questions. I find the questions there, then it's really hard to answer them. But, I
yeah,
don't know, but when you're there, don't you feel like you're one with the soil?
100%. I feel like, and I'm just going to go back to something that you actually said, Saba. Racism is not, we're not born racist. Racism is taught. No one is born hating another culture. No one is born believing that a certain religion is wrong. That's something that you are taught. So you have the choice to make up your own mind. And that is why you are here today. And that's why we're talking about it. And that's why I'm here today. And that's why we're talking about it. There is a something about Cyprus that when I go there, there is a feeling of culture. There is a feeling of like blood that runs through you, and I identify with it and I recognize it. And I only started investigating my culture and my background as well in the last sort of 5 years of my life because, you grew up. I speak Turkish. People ask me I'm Turkish Cypriot. I don't even say that now. I just sound Cypriot because I don't want to feed into it anymore. The more that I've studied it, and the more that I've understood that actually most of our blood work would have both, because Cyprus was actually a mixed country, and unless you have a parent from Greece or a parent from Turkey, born and raised Turkey with the strong bloodline, you will be a mixed culture of Greek and Turkish Cypriot. The more that I understood that, and the more that I understood that my mum did not like have any enemies in that country, and she grew up there. Her mum did not have any enemies in that country. Everybody was pretty peaceful there. None of us asked for that invasion. I will never take it away from anyone. It was huge, and I'm sure that people's experiences of it were really traumatic. But and I don't think anybody in Cyprus wanted to be invaded and wanted to be split. I don't think they wanted to be split at all. And I think the way that people feel about each other now, because if you go through my comments on my very homely, very loving video of my nan, I'm happy that you responded the way that you did, but there is some hateful comments on the fact that I speak about it as if I don't want to feed into it and that we're all one. And it has triggered some people. There are really, really nasty comments on that video of my nan. And it's insane how people can really be so angry about what I feel, my personal experience, and me sharing my family with the internet. I hope that one day we don't have to have the borders anymore in Cyprus, and that it will just go back to the way that it once was, and there will be no more. Whatever was taught for this last 30 odd years will resolve itself in the next 30 years, where it's untaught because people in that civilization just decide to do so. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know.
Which
Mhm.
takes us to your third food memory. Let's finish with something sweet. Do you remember what it
Baklava.
was?
Baklava, I do. I could never forget
Baklava.
baklava. Please, please. I could eat a tray of that stuff. It's so sweet. It's sickly. I could eat a tray of it. I wouldn't even get sick of it. I remember baklava because so my dad moved us down to Kent, like I said, before he had children because he didn't want us to grow up in London. And my aunties and uncles, whenever they would visit, they would always go to a shop. It's called Yashar Halim in London. And it's like the most known for the best baklava. And they would always bring it for me. Like everyone in the family knew that I was like a baklava crazy person. So it's got a really beautiful memory of not just the food, but the family members that are not here anymore that used to love bringing it for me because they loved my reaction when they did. And even if I went to their houses, they would always have baklava there ready for me because they knew how much I loved it.
What is it about this dish that made it your favourite?
I've got a really sweet tooth, like a sickly sweet tooth. I love syrup, like anything in syrup. So
I
my
was
mum makes
expecting
another cake.
I was expecting something really profound and poetic and something
Oh
that I would find
no.
in your
Oh
books. I got
no,
a
for God's
sweet
sake.
tooth.
No, I've got a sweet tooth. That's it. That's it. Just pastry. It just tastes amazing. There's nothing poetic about it. I could describe the layers of it poetically, but I got a really sweet tooth. It's very unique, isn't it? That's not for everybody. Like not a lot
No.
of people actually do like baklava. They think it's too sickly sweet. And you're right, there's many different versions of it. So I worked in Qatar for the World Cup. I lived there for like 5 months at the time. And Arabic baklava is very, very different. It's not sitting in syrup. The nuts that they use are different. The pastry that they use is different. It tastes of rose water, it's so different. It's completely different. So you're right, it has evolved. It's like it's in different parts of the world tasting completely different. And it's another one of those foods actually that people just go, we made it. No, we made it. No, we made it. And then everyone tries to claim it. But the cake, like become. So um I think baklava for me is just because it's just I have a very, very sweet tooth and I enjoy eating it.
What are some of the other Cypriot sweets and delicacies that you like?
My mum makes a cake called shammali.
Oh my God!
Somali. You know what that is, yeah?
Yes! Keep
I
talking about it.
I love it. I used to be like, I remember one of my earliest memories actually, like standing on the chair in the kitchen and making the I think it begins with the S. Is
Semolina.
That's it, semolina, yeah. And and I'm not even strong enough. I don't even have the arm strength to do it because it's like, they have like the big bowl that you've got to do it in. I can't even see over the table at this point, and I'm like trying to mix this semolina. It's so thick and strong. And she makes a mean shamali, and she also covers that in syrup. It's the same thing, like it's because it's covered in syrup. So some people do it really dry, but my mum makes it so that like the syrup sits at the bottom. So when you take the cake out, it's like soaked all the way through. Oh, chef's kiss. It's beautiful.
There is an abundance and beauty in baklava because of the road it's travelled. There's a mystery that defies its reality for me, especially like you say, when you go to other countries and you try and like, it's lovely, but that's not our baklava. I'm reminded of the poet John Keats, who wrote to a mate in a letter in the early 1800s. He said something along the lines of, I am certain of nothing but the holiness of the heart's affections and the truth of imagination. What the imagination seizes as beauty must be truth. Are you like Keats in that you believe emotional and intuitive experiences over logical reasoning provide the only reliable access to reality and beauty?
Yeah, I am. Because your reality is the way that you feel and experience things. No two realities are the same. It's the same if we said your relationship with God. Everybody can say that you need to do it like this, or you need to do it like this, or you need to pray like this, or you need to go here. But actually, your relationship with God is unique to you. No two relationship will be the same. The way you experience it, the way that you pray, the way that you are able to communicate and connect is unique to you. And that's the same for your own reality. I do believe that one of the things that has saved my life is being able to control my emotions. So emotions, I think emotions need to be
Hang on.
formed with
Control or understand?
to understand, but to also control. If you are led by your emotions all the time, you will be led astray. Because as human beings, we can fluctuate in emotions continuously. It's like if you're in a relationship and you've been in that relationship for 10 years, there are days that you will go through where you are so in love with this person, and other days where you just think, I just want to kill him. I don't want to be with this person anymore. So if you are led by your emotions only, you will be led astray. You will make decisions. And it's the same as that saying where you say, don't ever make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings, because your feelings can change at any time. And I definitely live by that. I had to insert discipline into me. I lost a lot of things in my life because I was too sad. And sadness really ruled me for a lot of the beginning part of my life. And sadness, I'm not really a person that can work when I'm sad. I'm a person that will lay down for 3 4 days. Days will pass by and I couldn't function. When I started to teach myself discipline is when I started to be able to work through, because people with depression, they know they're not dumb. They know what they need to do. They're just depressed and they don't want to do it. They don't want to function. They don't want to move. So once you teach yourself discipline, you will be able to function and do the things that you need to do, even on the days that you don't feel like it, even on the days that you just don't want to be here anymore. Those things are really key things, especially for people that suffer with mental health, to be able to um, insert, to be able to continue and live as normal a life as possible.
You've chosen as your social cause, and you're an ambassador of this organisation, SANE. What do they do?
They're a mental health organization. They have volunteers that they train and they speak to. They have phone lines that are open from 4 p.m. till 10 p.m. every day. They take calls of people that may feel suicidal, or people that just want to talk, or just anything from anyone. Sometimes you have obviously children, adults. They hold many charity events. They do like marathon runs. We did a Strictly Come Dancing show for a gentleman named Robin Windsor who took his own life. He was a very famous dancer from Strictly Come Dancing. And his story is so heartbreaking because he was the life and soul on TV. the life and soul. He was the party guy. He was everybody's smile. He was always buzzing. He's always like so electric on screen. And he took his own life. And I think it shocked so many people because you just don't see that from that. You look at A and you don't see B. And it really is, suicide is a really, really deadly, silent drug. And a lot of people suffer. A lot of people go through things that they can't speak about. And I think Sane offers the opportunity for people to be able to go to somewhere where they can find somebody that they can trust to speak to without it being a member of family, without it being a friend. They do so much for the community. And I am very, very proud to be an ambassador of theirs.
SANE is an independent mental health charity aiming to raise awareness and improve services, provide emotional support, and host research. For more information, sane.org.uk. In the spirit of Martha Stewart and her kitchen meets life wisdom, we have a tradition here at TFM where our previous guest passes their kitchen life guidance to you. Our previous guest, Australia's very own Kathy Lett, who lives in the UK, encourages you to make the most out of the human elements of the menu, the guest list. What sort of dinner guest are you?
I'm the drinker. I'm the one that's bringing Prosecco, champagne, you name it. I'm bringing it. I'm opening it. And I'm going to be the first one with the glass. I'm definitely the person that's in the kitchen. I don't really sit in the living room. I sit in the kitchen. I'm talking, laughing, joking with everyone. I'm probably the clown of the show. Like I definitely come in with lively and bubbles. I bring the bubbles and I'm bubbly. I don't bring a dish. I'm sorry. It's just not me. It's just not me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the person that brings something that's to do with to contribute to your food. I'm just gonna bring you vibes whilst you're cooking. That's what I'm gonna do.
Now, what kitchen life wisdom can you share with our next guest, being the daughter of chipper parents?
Try everything once because you never know what might become your favorite thing in the world. Your culture food is not the only culture food that is available. Like you should always try different cultures and experience the tastes of the world because those things will show you what life is really about.
I've actually felt every single bit of this conversation in my body. And when I was reading your book, I came across this little bit at the very end that you wrote. Um, if you are here reading this, then you have supported my mind or my heart in one way or another. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you. No matter how many times I thought I'm not going to make it through this one, I did. And I need you to know you can too. I hope my words bring you solace to your heart the way that you have brought solace to mine. Has your body ever known a feeling free of grief and loss?
In the later years, since my dad has passed, you know, people always say to you, you will be okay, or you will smile again, or you will have fun again, and you won't feel guilty about it. In the first few years, it's very hard to hear that sentence because the guilt consumes you of it, and you think, why would I? Why would I laugh again? Why would I be okay? You know, my world is in flames. Like this will never happen for me again. I will never laugh. There have been moments that I am so grateful to have experienced in these last few years that have definitely had me feeling more proud than feeling the grief and the loss. And I have some really favorite people in my life now that you know, that saying where they say, I don't have a favorite place, I have favorite people. And where my favorite people are, that's my favorite place. And I am lucky enough to have my little sister is my world. And I have a best friend, and her name's Charlie. She is everything I could have ever asked for in a best friend. And there's people in your life that will help you to become, you will never be the same version of yourself ever. And to expect that of yourself is just denying yourself freedom of what it is, the pain that you have felt and you've been through. But you will create different versions of yourself and new versions of yourself that will be able to experience life and be free and feel happy again in moments. It won't be continuous, but everybody's on the same journey. Everybody will go through the same thing no matter what. And that's why it's really important how you treat people when you are on your way, whether that's on your way up or on your way down, because it will come back to you.
Now, this is your opportunity to ask me a question. I forgot to warn you at the beginning of the interview. You get
Okay.
to you get to ask me a question. Hava, what would you like to ask Sava?
I would like to ask you, was there a period of time in your life where you did feel that the other side of Cyprus was an enemy of yours and that you should have disliked them or felt weary of them? And if so, when did it become apparent to you that that may not be the case?
I always knew that what I was being told was not correct.
Mhm.
It didn't sit well. Um, I, now that you say that, I don't know whether I wanted it. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe the people on the other side of the fence. Now, I must preface this: both you and I were not born there. It is not our country. We
Yeah.
did not experience it. We are just, again, we could very well just be visitors. We never experienced the war ourselves. So I'm very conscious when I share my opinions, and I'm still going to share them, but they're coming from a place of not, I'm not there. I am not local to that. But I just knew it wasn't right. What I was being told and the narrative that was being given to me wasn't accurate. And there was this really unique moment when the borders started opening up and you could cross the border there. And I remember at a particular point, just a little bit out of, we call it Nicosia, you call it Lefkosa, a little bit out there, that there were two lines. And there was a line for Turkish Cypriots and a line for Greek Cypriots to cross the border. And it was just at the very beginning. So it was still quite tense. I had my Australian passport and my Greek Cypriot passport in my pocket. And I was dressed like a tourist. Now I was dressed in shorts and a singlet. I was not looking like my people on the island. So I thought, well, well, obviously I'm not going to take the Turkish Cypriot line. I'll take the Greek Cypriot line. And the Greek Cypriot soldiers grabbed me by the scruff of the neck of my singlet and pulled me out of that line and were just kind of shook me a little bit and said, no, no, this is not your line, and sort of moved me, presumed because of the way that I was. It just happened so quickly. And then I saw a UN peacekeeper who was walking just in the vicinity. I saw his Australian flag on his uniform and I yelled out, mate, mate. And I kind of pulled out I had them both in my hand, but I had them in my pocket, and I pulled it out, and he came over and he said, oh, it's okay, he's with me. And he took me over and he said, yeah, it's been a bit tense here. I was like, okay. I was a bit shaken. I was young. I was, what was like 28? No, 30. So it was a bit of a shock to go through that and then to cross the no man's land. You've got to think there's a big section of that line it's like nothing. And then you get on the other side, and back then it was like being in Cuba. It was very third world. The cars were different. So there I was on the other side, and I was like, okay, so what do I do? Like, we didn't have, our phones didn't kind of operate the way that they do now. So it wasn't like I could do a walking track. And like from God, and I remember this man, he came out of nowhere like a Mr. Bean car with a moustache. He could have been an uncle. He looked like an uncle, but he wasn't, obviously. He came out of nowhere in his car and he said to me in Greek with a Turkish accent, where are you going? And I said, oh, I want to go into the town. And he said, come with me. Put me in his car, and I wasn't frightened. There was nothing scary about this. It felt very comforting. He took me to his brother's place, which was in the very center of town. It was the first time I'd ever had Turkish tea in the little cup, in the little thing. And then initially they gave me just a little bit of lukum or lukumya that we call them on the side. And then his wife brought out all these pastries and, oh God, I know what they're called, but they're kind of the flat things. Anyway, And they fed me and all the rest of it. And they showed me, they gave me a map, and then they showed me where to go and the places that I needed to visit to. Back then, the tourism had just opened up. So you have to understand from my perspective what I was told, what I experienced on my side. And by the time I crossed over, what I had just experienced, I hadn't expected that sort of hospitality. So I was really relieved. When I came back to the other side and I made my way back and I retold those stories, I quickly worked out, to the Greek Cypriots, I quickly worked out that they weren't welcome. The stories weren't welcomed. And like you in the comments. So they became my own private Idaho for quite a while, until I was like, no, fuck this. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the most extraordinary time I had the first time I went on the other side. And every time I go back, I always make a point of going to the other side.
What's really interesting also is when you go to the island, the people that have the strongest opinions of it are the people that don't even live on the island. They're the people that are in different countries and they have but you go to the country and just like you said, the hospitality of both sides is they're just peaceful people. They're just calm. They're like welcoming of everyone and everything. They'll take you into their home. They'll take you anywhere. Whatever you need it's never a big chore. So it's really interesting that the opinion of people that are outside of that country is actually stronger than the ones that live in it.
Havva, thank you for bringing all the words, the fish, the fillo, the bamya, and zero emotionals shortcuts. Thank you so much for being on Three Food Memories.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
That's it for this episode of Three Food Memories.